Hi, everyone, and welcome to week 12. We only have like 3 more weeks of this semester, and you're doing so well. Endure to the end, right? So here we are in week 12, and this is a busy week because we are working towards that rough draft of our synthesis essay, this explanatory synthesis essay. And if you look ahead, I'm looking at the whole module right here. The rough draft is due the end of the week. Okay, and that will help prepare us for the peer review, which will be due the following Wednesday. All right, so let's look and see what we're doing this week. A lot of what we're doing are not are things that will take a whole lot of time because they want you to focus on that draft as we go through these other activities, and these other activities will help us refine that draft too. All right, so let's look at the first thing that we are going to do is an activity or an assignment that's going to look at the use of point of view, like first person, second person, third person, and should I use I? And there's a handout here that talks about using first person I in, I'm going to make this big really quick, in academic writing. And it has some good points. It has some good points in here, but some of it can be a little bit misleading, okay? Especially for this type of essay that we're writing right now, which is a formal academic essay. There are so many opportunities where writing in first person for college papers is appropriate, but there's other times when even in one paper there are certain sections where it is appropriate and certain sections where it is not. So read over this, and the one thing that I wanted to point out is the effective uses of I in this type of paper. The only time the I or we or our, that inclusive first person, the only time that is really acceptable is when you are talking about your research process, the research methods that you did, and the only time you would use we would be if you are talking about your research methods and you had written it with a partner or a co-author. That's really the only time. You don't want to use we or our and assume that you are sharing an experience with your audience, or that your audience has shared an experience with you. Like, we have always experienced this. We think this. We think that. It's like, no, you don't want to do that. You don't want to make those kind of assumptions. So it's really tricky. I always kind of invite my students that when in doubt, go with third person because it's a little bit more formal. But anyway, it's a good handout. It's a good handout. Let me know if you have any questions. And all there is right here is we're just going to respond to a few sentences to each of these prompts, okay? After reading that, and look over the rubric to see what I'm supposed to be looking at. Let me know if you have any questions on that. And let's see what we are going to be doing next. Is a little quiz and some sources on integrating sources and paragraphs and transitions, which is good. And that is due midweek. Let's see. And this is a good activity that will help us. And it's all about that introduction, which is incredibly important. Introductions and conclusions are very important sections of an essay, and a lot of times, especially the conclusion, gets overlooked. And there are some good examples here of introductions, and I inserted this handout because I use it a lot, and it is a wonderful handout on the whole job or heavy lifting that introductions are supposed to be doing in academic writing and in writing in general. And it's a fantastic handout. Please read that. I would save it for future use. There's some good templates here. And what we are going to be doing, this is a discussion. So we are going to be sharing our drafts on our introduction and our thesis. Okay, our paper needs to have that thesis statement, a statement that is traditionally at the end of the introduction, which the introduction can be 1 or 2 paragraphs for an essay this size. And that thesis needs to be right there. And that thesis is a statement that tells our audience what this paper is going to be focused on. If it was an argumentative paper, that thesis would share our opinion, okay, the opinion that we are trying to persuade our audience to accept. But the thesis is not a question. It's not simply stating that this paper is going to look at this. It shares a very specific, the very specific focus of the paper, okay? So this is just read over these, examples and templates and handouts, and then we're just going to help one another develop some good and fine-tune our introductions, okay? And then we have a little quiz on APA formatting for these kind of research papers. That's important, especially for research papers. That formatting, those formatting styles are very important for research papers because we want our audience to know where to find the sources, what information is coming from where, and where they can find it to carry on the research. And then here we go, our rough draft. All right, so here's a little draft worksheet. You don't have to turn this in. This is just for you to kind of do a little self-assessment and get that draft in. I also encourage you to look ahead to week 13 and pull up the final submission page, okay? Because that submission page has the rubric on it so that you know exactly what's going to be graded, what's going to be assessed, what I have been asked to look for, okay? Read this over and do a little self-assessment or self-grading to make sure that you're on the right track. Just use it as a checklist, all right? But there, I think that's it for the week. Yeah, and then we get into week 13. So good luck with everything. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if you want to Zoom and talk over the project face-to-face, virtually face-to-face. I am more than happy to do any of that, okay? Have a really great week. All right, bye-bye.